even if you have to start at the bottom, start slow, eventually you can get there. You just have to stay at it.
Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Weta L. Brown. I inspire and promote movement. I explain how running adds to life from a mental wholeness aspect, how obstacles can be overcome in life to make it to your finish line. Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy, episode 79. Today I welcome an old friend, McKinley Mason. I met him in 2018 when I ran Football Hall of Fame, half marathon. He is a runner turned triathlete. Up until the age of 50, he would have called himself a casual jogger. He only ran 10Ks about once a year. Both of his parents died in their early 50s. They drank and smoked a lot, and so did he. It became a dream of his to outlive his parents, and he prayed on it. He had a testimonial event that occurred in his life the year of his 50th birthday. It forced him to stop smoking and drinking. At that point, his casual runs became longer and longer. And after a year, he found himself running 3 to 4 hours nonstop. In 2010, at the age of 52, he ran his first marathon in Richmond, Virginia. Initially, his goal was to do 1 marathon a year. But once he joined with other run groups, the peer pressure became real. And that quickly changed. From 2010 to 2017, he was a marathoner. He ran several marathons, 1 year up to 5. Then his brother, while shopping at Walmart, bought him a bike. The bike had many loose screws and parts, so he took it to the local bike shop, and it was there he met several triathletes. So after talking to them, he started cycling. He started taking swim lessons, and lessons for him was looking at YouTube videos, talking to other people, and basically teaching himself how to swim. He knew how to swim because he swam before, but his endurance was not up to the standard of doing a race. He can only swim maybe half the distance of a lap. So he started doing triathlons as well. He's still a runner. Triathletes, after they start doing particularly longer distance races, don't do as many solo road races. But he does both. He loves running. Over the years, it has taken him to places he thought he would never see, and met so many people that are part of his run family. He's run marathons in 24 states, 5 continents, completed 4 of the 6 majors. He's completed 24 marathons, 52 half marathons, 1 ultra, 3 half distance Ironman races, 70.3s, and 1 full distance, 140.6. All of this after the age of 50. Running has become his love, but becoming a triathlete is amazing as well. When it comes to the world of multisports, McKinley could run and cycle and obtain podiums at duathlons, but swimming was something he really had to work on. Again, he swam in college, but went 37 years without swimming. He signed up for his first triathlon at the age of 59 and literally ran most of the pool if his feet touched the ground. He did an indoor try as his first. The same with me. He was frustrated at his attempts to learn to swim, but he never gave up. He went to numerous swim and open water clinics. He was the only person of color, only black person there. He never felt comfortable. So again, he taught himself how to swim using videos and advice from other people. In 2021, he did his First Ironman, Maryland at age 63. Finished at the time of 14 hours and 52 minutes. He has a goal of doing another, and he also has other lofty goals when it comes to running, which I'll let him tell you about. Please welcome McKinley Mason, or as he is known, Deacon Run, to the show. Well, thanks again for joining me today.
Hello, how you doing?
I am great. I am great today. So let's start with, how did you start running?
I started running when I was in the military. You know, the military was a requirement. Mm-hmm. I went to college. I joined ROTC, and we had to do PT, physical training, and all that. And so we used to run 3 miles. And that's what began my running. I didn't like it.
You didn't like it in the military? Why? Because you had to do it? It wasn't fun?
No, it wasn't fun at all. You know, the only time it was fun when we got information, like you see on TV, you heard running, and you're singing, and that was fun.
Yeah, that looked fun to me.
But on those days when you had to go out and train on your own and do, because, you know, we had to actually do what's called a PT test. And back in my days, we done it on the track.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I'm old Army. So we done it on the track. You had to run around the track 8 times. And, you know, if you've ever trained on the track, you know how boring that is. It's like, you know, super, super boring.
So after the military, did you stop it running and just pick it up again, or you just continued?
Yeah, I kept running. I kept running because I got out the military in 91. So I kept running 2 or 3 miles to stay in shape. And back in those days, believe it or not, I used to drink heavy and smoke cigarettes.
And you still was running, though?
I used to smoke before I go run my 3 miles, and smoke and have a drink right afterwards.
That was your relaxation. That was your recovery.
Yeah, that was my recovery back in those. Yeah. But you know what? I went back and looked at like some of my PT test times, and I didn't realize back in those days, you know, I was running like sub-7s and like 6:20.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't pay it any mind. I hated this so much, so I just wanted to hurry and get it over with.
Did you participate in any other sports growing up?
No sports growing up. A lot of my friends, a lot of my cousins played sports when I was in high school and junior high school. But I grew up in a farm area, rural area, and there you had 2 classes. Class worked on the farm and helped make money for home, and the other class, you know, parents had a pretty decent job, so you didn't have to work, so you could do those after school events. But if you worked on the farm and done the other things, your income became part of the household income. Mm-hmm. So, you know, after school, you know, you're going to work, you know, weekends you work, and ain't none of that other stuff. So I played none in high school. But
you was pretty active, though, working after work and working on the weekends. So when you know, today, if you don't work, you're on the couch probably playing video games or in the streets doing something to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I always, like you said, stay busy doing stuff. But I wasn't nowhere near what I am, you know, the stuff I do today. The only thing I used to do was used to run 2 or 3 miles to stay in shape and lift a little weights to stay toned. That was about it.
So what made you progress from just running 2 to 3 miles to actually doing endurance running?
Back in like 2009, I had a special event, something that happened to me in my life. And so that was 2009. 2010, for my 50th birthday, I think that was 2010. I quit smoking and I quit drinking.
So what happened in 2000 and you said 8 that changed your life?
2009. Like most folks know me today as Does the Deacon Run or Iron Deacon and all that. But once upon a time in my life, I was, believe it or not, in quote, I was the Mac Daddy.
Really? I can see that.
Don't say that. Back in those days, like most folks who know me now, they cannot visualize when I tell them the Mac Daddy stories. When I used to talk about, I used to smoke and I used to drink a lot. I used to love to drive. I swear I was one of those persons. I swear I could drive better if I had just a few drinks. You know, on a 4-hour road trip, you drunk the whole way. That's way more than a few. So that was me. And so I got in a lot of trouble doing that. Getting in trouble was the best thing that could ever happen to me in my life. I said a prayer one day. I had to do some hard things, make some hard decisions. And because my parents drink a lot, they smoke a lot. And both of my parents passed when they was like 52, 53 years old. You know, they never made it to 55. whole time frame, I was thinking, I'm like, I want to really, really seek and outlive my parents. So, based on what happened to me, it's just the timing of everything coming together, the trouble I was in, everything together was the perfect timing. And I just said, you know what? I'll stop just smoking and drinking and just so I can outlive my parents. And like I said a prayer one day, and I have never had any counseling for alcohol. I've never done AA.
Okay, you just stopped on your own?
No, I didn't stop on my own. I stopped through prayer. I just said a prayer, but it's like sometimes they tell you say a prayer, things don't turn out like they think they are. I said a prayer. I got in trouble. But it was the best thing that happened to me in my life. I wouldn't have got in trouble. Either I'd have been dead or I'd have killed someone else.
So that was the turning point.
Yes. And that was right around 50. And then during that time, I noticed my running got extended. I could run for, 45 minutes, hour and a half, 2-3 hours. And get tired.
So you went, after you stopped smoking and drinking, went from running 2 to 3 miles to just running an hour, 2 hours, and that kind of progressively.
Yeah. I noticed when I started feeling running, it was right at 4 hours. And I had a good friend, and I used to work with. Matter of fact, he and I used to drink a lot together. But he ran marathons. He ran Marine Corps. I think he's a Navy guy. He ran Navy and one more. And so, I always looked up him when it came to running like he was God. Because ain't no way in the world I would ever attempt to run 26.2 miles. You crazy, right? But after I ran these 4 hours, I'm like, what? I want to think I would try to do it like my friend. He ran Richmond. That was the last marathon. I ran Richmond at the age 52 for the first time. And no specific training, don't know nothing about shoes. The normal story.
You just went out there and started running and say, hey, I'm going to run this marathon.
I had been running because I used to go to Virginia Beach and do the half marathon because I got to know some black men run and other people. So at least I was training for a half marathon. So like my philosophy today, I'll tell everybody, if you can run a half, you run a full. If I can run a half, I can run a full. And I went out there and it was like my second fastest time, even up to the day.
So it's interesting that your parents kind of inspired you to start running to be healthier because you wanted to outlive them, even though I guess they may not have taught you as far as longevity, good habits, as far as health and food and wellness, but their example inspired you to be better so you can outlive them.
Yeah, it was that simple. I just wanted to, actually the number 55 comes to mind. I knew if I made it to 55 because I wasn't sure, but I know they was younger than 55, but I didn't know the exact age. And I wasn't going to the files and pull out to know exact. So I was like, if I can make it to 55.
You'd be okay. That's interesting. Yeah, my mother inspired me, her goodness and for good and for bad. She was a great woman. She was brilliant, excellent in many ways, but she had health challenges, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and she used to walk around with this bag of medicine. I called it her walking pharmacy. And I said, when I get old, I don't want to take medicines for high blood pressure and diabetes and have to check my blood sugar and be on insulin. So she inspired me professionally to be better and also healthy because I don't want all those things. And to this date, I don't have them. And it's part of my lifestyle, trying to run and bike and swim and do all these crazy things. So how did you progress? You said from the 2 to 3 miles to the marathon and multiple marathons. How many marathons have you done now?
I've done 27. Yeah, I've done 27. And matter of fact, I tell people I've done them without even trying, because, once I done Richmond, like I told you, I met the folks from Black Men Run. I think what happened in 2000, what year Heather King had Publix? 2000, was that 17 or 15 or?
I'm not sure the exact year.
Yeah. Team Takedown Republic. Remember that? I think it was. Yeah, I'm thinking it was like 15 or 17, but whatever year. When I went there, I had met a lot of people that, we only knew on Facebook, on social media, Soros, frat brothers, folks that went to the same college you went to, but you only knew them on the computer. That's when it was 700 black folks deep. I don't know if you ever saw the pictures from that race. Yeah, but 700 deep, and I got to meet a whole lot of the race family for the first time. And I got attached to like Team Takedown, and wherever Takedown going, I was going with them.
Okay. So that was the start?
Yes, from that year. Because I practiced I practically was doing like Virginia local stuff. I would go see, the DMV races around Richmond. That was about it, Virginia Beach. I'd done that for like 3 or 4 years until I went to Publix. And that way kind of took it to another state, took it to another country, and now around the world.
Okay. So 27 marathons. And you done 51 half marathons, is that correct?
Yes.
And one ultra?
Yep, one ultra. Probably one and done on that.
You wouldn't do it again? You did Marine Corps, right?
Yeah, I've done Marine Corps the year of the monsoon. And it wasn't because of the weather, just I have no desire
to run more than a marathon.
I go, matter of fact, if someone say, let's go do a half Ironman tomorrow, I would go do that before I even attempt to do another, what's that, 50K?
Ultra. Yeah, 50K, which is what, 31 miles?
Yeah, 31.4 or something like that. Yeah. Each one take me about the same, like about 6.5, something like that. Because I know when I've done that ultra, it's amazing. Once I hit 26.2, I kind of like, okay, my race over, and I just started cutting up and walking and
having fun.
Because I'm like, I'm done. I get there when I get there. It can always be my PR. So
that's true. You say one and done.
One and done.
So what's your favorite marathon, or do you have one?
Actually, my favorite is Marine Corps Marathon.
Marine Corps. Why?
I've done 8. First of all, because I'm a veteran.
Okay, well, thanks for your service.
Thank you. And everything that goes with that race, so much sacrifice you think about, not just the Marines, but, just veterans, period. They fly over the helicopters and the jets, all that in the morning, and just get you stoked. The thing the most is, let's say you on mile 17, right? And, if you ever remember, Marine Corps is one of the hardest in the country, even though it don't look like it.
Yeah, it is. And it is on the hill.
Mile 17 is struggle, but you come up on a runner in front of you. As you get closer, you notice he's running with no legs. So you like, as bad as I feel, I can't even relate to that.
That's true. Another something they used to get on the Marine Corps is I see the soldiers running with their I don't know the proper terminology, their bags and then the flag. In that stretch where you see all the in memory of this soldier, and I don't know what mile that is.
It's Haynes Point. I think it's right around the half marathon, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly, something like that.
That inspired me to keep on moving when I saw that.
Yeah, so that's a special race, so that's why that's my favorite. Richmond will always be my first love, though. Ever since then, that was 2012. And every person I've met since then, if they want to run a first marathon, I always recommend Richmond. Yeah, because of more than the course, the community and the people. Yeah, especially that last, 10K, they will get you through.
Mm-hmm. They get you through. I did the 10K, I think, when the National Black Marathon Association had their summit there.
Yeah, I used to do that race every year.
So you run marathons in 24 states, is that 5 continents, and completed 4 world majors, is that correct?
Yep.
So do you desire to do all 7 continents in like 50 states?
My desire is to run every continent of the world right now, go to 7, to do the 6 majors. Okay, I have 2 continents left. I have 2 majors left, Tokyo and London, and both are scheduled.
Okay.
Matter of fact, London is 2 October, and then Tokyo is March 2023. To make the difference is most folks that done those 2 things haven't done an Ironman. Yeah, haven't done an Ironman. Then once I retire, then I'll start doing states. I'll load the van up, grab the grandkids on the weekends.
No, you do. Okay.
Yeah, so that's eventually the ultimate goal is just to do it all.
So what made you start doing triathlons since you seem to love running so much? Like what made you?
My brother brought me a bike, and he brought me a Walmart bike. He was at Walmart one day. He said the bike was $80-something, and it was a swim. And back in my day, swim was just like about a trek. Mm-hmm. The swim was like, we should call it the 26 speed or something like that. If you had a 26 speed swim back in the day, you was it around the neighborhood.
Okay.
Got someone to ride your bike. So he saw the bike and he brought it for me. But when I got it home, when he brought it to me, it had some of the parts were loose. I guess the guys put it together in the back. they do a good job. So I'm like, well, let me take it to the bike shop. I know they can, make sure everything is tightened up and good to go. And, so that bike shop became my local bike shop. So, I just started going there, hanging out. You go to the bike shop, you start meeting people. Next thing I know, I'm riding like 20, 30, 40 miles on a bike. But I done got rid of the Walmart bike. I done brought me a road bike now. I'm with these folks from the bike shop. We riding. So one Friday night.
So you started riding with people from the bike shop?
Bike shop, yeah. I started riding with people from the bike shop. And then one Friday night, they was talking triathlon. They asked me, could I swim? And I'm like, yeah, I learned to swim in college. I graduated from college in 1980. And, I learned how to swim when I was a senior. I needed one like little class that, get time to kill some time. So I took up swimming. And so I went swimming with them one Saturday morning. I jumped in the pool like it was 1980.
Like it would come right back to you?
8 feet.
And you jumped into 8 feet?
No, I can only swim 8 feet.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I had to come up. I had to stand up.
You were like, okay, I need to work on this.
Yeah, for college, to qualify and pass the class, I think we probably had to swim at least 3,000 meters or something like that. But it was 1980. And all those years, as a man, as going to the pool, thing we do is sit there, play around a little bit, go to the beach, play around, but never no serious swimming. Now, until I got with these folks, I can roll with y'all. I got 8 feet. I couldn't do it. Yep, that's about it. But that's what got me started.
In season 5, we will continue the segment Ask the Doc. If you have any questions related to musculoskeletal health, please email me, send me a message via social media, or click on my website and leave an audio message. Select messages will be answered on the segment. How did you improve your swimming from 8 feet to Ironman?
Well, it's like nothing I ever started all the way back from probably when I was 11 years old when I first started working on the farm. I've never started nothing and never finished, right? But sometimes I'll take an indirect route. I might not take the route the average person would take to get to the end, but eventually I know I'm going to get there. So I kind of knew that, I kind of could get there, but I need to learn swimming, like not a swimmer's way, but a marathoner's way. Know how to run marathons. Because people always say once you start swimming, the light come on. Remember somebody probably told you that.
Yeah. You feel the water.
Just stay at it. One day the light will come on. One day the light literally came on. And my philosophy became, because I'm uncoached, coached myself through swim, bike, and run. There was one lifeguard. She was a triathlete at the YMCA I go to. She gave me a couple of pointers, and also a lot of people on BTA, because I would ask questions. A lot of folks became my indirect coaches, you want to call it that, because I ask anybody questions. And so it grew me to think about swimming as running. I'm like, when I run a mile or when I run a marathon, I do not start at the beginning and run all the way to the end. There becomes a point to where I walk to either drink water. If it's a steep hill, I might run 3/4 up and walk to the crest and then run again. Mm-hmm. So that became my philosophy with swimming. I would front crawl, and when I get tired to a certain point, I would just backstroke. Backstroke became my walking.
Okay. You must be a strong kicker. Because I think the backstroke, in order to go fast, you need a strong kick. Because the stroke don't get you enough as the pull forward.
With the backstroke, I have an extra reach. From day one, doctor told my mama, dang, that boy got some long arms.
Okay.
So I think more like my kick, because I have a basic kick, and so I think it's more of my stroke and angle, the way I was taught to do backstroke back when I was in college. Yeah. So I'm probably doing a better pull than a better kick. Let's say if I was doing run walk, if I ran 3 minutes and 30 seconds worth of walking, that's all I would.
Okay. That's your recovery kind of.
Yep. It was becoming my recovery. Like when I've done half Ironman Maryland, every buoy I got to, I was turned over to the back, swim a little bit, recover, then swim back, front crawl to the next buoy. Yeah. That became my way I practiced in the pool. So I increased from the 8 feet. So 12 and a half feet became my target because it's half of the pool. Yeah. And sometimes I used to stop twice to get halfway. And I would, and then, half, the rest of the half is deep water. Nothing you can do, right? So I would stop right there and was like, okay, get yourself together because you got 12 and a half. You can't stop. Just increase. Eventually, I increased to 25 meters. Until eventually, like you say, one day I swam 2.4 miles in 1 hour and 52 minutes.
So what's your greatest challenge in, if you say, as far as triathlons? Would you say it's the swimming or just the combination of putting 3 events together?
Like now that I've done the full Ironman, I've trained the whole year because that whole year of 2020, we had the coronavirus. That became my training year. And it was actually perfect timing because we had a year to do nothing but training. We weren't going to work. They say you couldn't leave your house unless you were riding the bike, swimming, or running, exercising. So I'm like, oh, well, what's fine? I'll do all 3. So I'm McKinley. This Deacon Run was out there doing the work, and I'm just riding on his shoulder, just watching him do it.
So you were just like autopilot after you trained so much, doing 2020. It was kind of like a part of you, like your routine.
It just became a long training day. That's all. But I never got to the point to where, some people ask you, when did you know you would finish the race? When did you know? At Maryland, you have to do 2 laps, right? After I finished my first lap, I was halfway. I looked at my watch. It was 52 minutes, right? And I'm like, so you mean tell me I've done 1.2 miles in 52 minutes? And I got how long? An hour and hour 20 left to do 1.2? I'm like, long as, I don't, some of that crazy stuff, an act of God. But other than that, as long as just finish this last lap, I can like almost swim 4-minute 100s and finish. As long as I do that and I get to have no mechanic on the bike. And I was like, no matter what the conditions is, one thing I do know is how to finish a marathon. I know how to run a marathon no matter what the conditions is. I ran so many different weather, so many terrain. So eventually you'll learn how to run it under adverse conditions, even after swimming, 4 miles and 112 miles. Yeah, I'm like, well, it's just a marathon. Oh, I know how to do this. Yeah, just keep on running. Just don't stop running. Just don't stop moving. And that became it.
So you didn't find, I guess, triathlons as challenging because you trained so much, basically.
Yeah, it was. Matter of fact, it was challenging in the early days. Just doing a regular triathlon, putting all 3 sports together, and when transition from the pool to open water, but the open water triathlon at the sprint distance for me now, because I was just starting, was harder than doing Ironman.
Well, that's true because the shorter distance, the swim is a greater portion of the race if you think about it. Because if you go up from the sprint to the Olympic to Ironman, like the swim don't increase really that much.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was more challenging than just to do the Ironman because, like I said, Ironman was a long training day. As long as you put it in your head that it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
And prepare for anything, prepare your mind for anything, then you kind of okay. Yeah, but you got to put the work in, though.
You mentioned in your bio that you had I guess you went to a few swim camps when you were trying to get back into swimming, and you really didn't have a great experience in the swim camps. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we have a local tri club. We have a local tri club here in Richmond called, it's in Richmond. And so when I first started, I was training with Alberta Williams. She was like the one person, because I don't like bring along too many people like when I'm training, because, because I'll be at a certain mindset. And if your mindset not matching my mindset, then we can't train together. Because, I can train with you, or if you said, can you train me today? But if I'm doing my training and you join me, then you have to do what I do, Right. So it was on a minute. So, once I started triathlon, she became my training partner because she was better swimming than me. So I used to gain confidence from her swimming. Then I met this group through her, the local tri. So then they start having open water swim practices, like beginners and all of that. And probably Alberta, me and another lady was the only minorities there, only Black minorities there. And, the rest of them was them. And so, they was very helpful. They gave you all the information I need. All you do is ask a question. They would stay over and help you and everything. But know, it's still something that just ain't right. You just don't feel comfortable because once they get to swim, they just knew so they just go across the lake, come back, go they gonna come back and say, "Well, can I help you?" Like, no, you got to swim across the lake, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All you do, you see they little pool buoy, then you keep going and going and get smaller and smaller.
So I just didn't feel comfortable, and I stopped. Not that I stopped training with them, but I kind of didn't. And I think I went to Charlotte a couple of times to meet up with my frat there, John. I had never, like I said, I have never trained with a group of minorities, but I had a training day with them. And, everybody messing up. Everybody can't do this. Everybody can't. So you just laugh about it. It's just like that. Just like you would think you at college, at homecoming.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
It's just that feel inside of you to where, you just feel comfortable. And so that's when I kind of pulled from the group and I started reaching into BTA members' minds. And I brought me a GoPro and I put it in the pool and I watched those submersion videos over and over and over. And I would study the videos and I would study myself in the pool and compare to eventually I could fix some things,
So you analyze your own stroke.
Yes. Because I would swear, when I sit and the people say, go through this, I felt like I was doing it. And when I got the video, this much of my head was above the water. When you come up.
Really? With the breathe? You were trying to catch all air.
All air. So that's what the video showed me. And the hands, this left hand was terrible. It was going in flat like that.
Mm-hmm, like you were slapping it.
I swear it was going in like, it was going like that. And then under the water with your feet, you're supposed to be like this. My leg feel like this.
Yeah. They were like, okay.
All kinds of stuff. Once I started analyzing that, and a lot of it came from, prior military stuff. Yeah, a lot of that came from that, because one thing I did learn from the Army is self-motivation. I can do it myself. I just need to learn how and when.
To do it, okay. Did you read any books to kind of help? Do you use TriDot for your to plan your schedule?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've been using TriDot since my first triathlon in 2017. And they literally have built me from I started running in the pool to Ironman.
Okay. You were running in the pool for just endurance?
Yeah, I know my first.
Oh, from the initial indoor triathlon, they tell you, yeah, you can run. Yeah, I remember my first indoor tri.
Where the pool was 5 feet from end to end. Yep, I'll swim a little, run a little.
So tell me what's on your bucket list as far as multi-sports triathlons.
This year, I've been doing triathlon just for the fun of it. I've done 2 halves, about 3 sprints. I never do Olympics, never ever.
Why?
Because of the swim. Right? Now, this is going to sound crazy, right? But my philosophy with the Olympic distance is, when I first started doing triathlon, and I look at what it took to be an Ironman, 112 miles on the bike and run a marathon, a certain amount of time. I was like, well, I can go and do an Ironman now if it wasn't from the swim. After I got my bike, within a year, I could ride 112 miles. I know within the time they said. When I looked at the Olympic swim, it's like 0.9 miles.
Mm-hmm.
A half Ironman swim is 1.2 miles, about another, 300 meters? Right? So I'm like, no. If I'm swimming, I'm going to go ahead and swim the whole 1.2 and do a half. People are celebrated for doing the sprint. People are celebrated for doing, you done a sprint. Yeah, you done your first, right? People are celebrated for doing halves. People are celebrated for doing full. How many folks out there really celebrated for doing Olympics? People do them because they trying to get some confidence. I didn't need confidence on the bike or the run. I needed confidence on the swim. So if I'm going to swim 0.9, no, I'm going the whole 1.2.
You might as well do a half. That's what you're saying.
Because only 300 more meters. And like I said, doing a half marathon and riding 56 miles on the bike, no biggie.
That's true. I'm trying to think. I've done 2 Olympics, I think. Chicago, and I forget the other. Oh, I did one in Mississippi.
Because as a matter of fact, the sprint really make me focus because it's so fast. You really got to pay attention. Like, especially during transition and some of the other things you do. And since it's so fast, it really makes me focus and dial in during the sprint.
So no Olympics, sprints, halves, and fulls for you, huh?
Yeah, I'll do relay team, any all three of them.
Okay. How many relays have you done?
I've done 3 relays. I've done 3 relays. I've done 2 at the half mile Ironman distance, 1 at the sprint distance.
Which one of the 3 did you, as far as swim, bike, or run, did you do for the relays?
When I done the one at the sprint distance, this was when I look back on it, it was a cop-out relay because I had signed up for it to do it myself. It probably would have been like my 3rd open water swim. And when it came like 2 days before, I got horrified. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. But, I'm like, I'll run and ride the bike. So local track group, I put it out there. If anybody want to swim, I'll do the rest. One guy was like, oh, yeah, I'll swim it. Yeah, so that was my first relay. And then the other 2 have been with Team BU for Life. I'm the cyclist. Last year was our first year doing the relay. We done North Carolina 7.3 relay. And this year we're going back and we trying for sub 6. Yeah, we was about 6:15 last year. And one of the runner was her first time like running. She's run half Ironmans before, but running them as part of a relay team, as part of Ironman, totally different philosophy than going out there doing yourself. Because what she found out is when you're doing 7.3 as a relay, you go all in, 80, 90%. Ain't nothing to say.
That's true because you just running, which I've never done a relay before.
She kind of done it like she done her regular relay. I'm like, no, you have to go all in. The first time I done the bike, I done 56 miles. I think it was 3:10. Last year I was 3:02. So this year I'm going for sub 3. Depends on the weather, if it don't rain. Yeah, but if it's normal like it was the first 2 years, and so that's my goal, is to go sub 3.
So you said you were kind of having fun this year. What's on your schedule for next year as far as a multi-sport?
Next month, 12th of September, is my 64th birthday. And you know how in triathlon, they move you up a year.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that. But
I'm loving it now. Because, see, last year when I was training for Ironman, I done 7 triathlons. I podium in 6 of them, right?
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you. It was just different. But this year, I've done like 4 or something like that. And I think I'm only podium once because, see, now I'm the old man in the group.
Mm-hmm. But now you're going to your new age group.
September. Yes. So I was competing last weekend in Luray, Virginia. I lost to a 59-year-old man because I done a duathlon. They only give first, no seconds. And that particular race. Yeah. I lost to a 59-year-old guy because he qualified to be 60 to be in our age group by 3 minutes. And actually, I wasn't even competing. I just went there to have fun, but I shouldn't have looked at the numbers on my.
You'd be like, no.
I'm like, yeah, I did. Okay, I knew I had fun. I wasn't trying, but I try to be respectable and everything. But then I saw 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah.
So what's on the plate for next year?
So next year, it'll be my 65th birthday, and so I want to go back to Maryland and do a 140.6 Ironman. It's my birthday, because I look at when I go to the races, there's not too many black men out there, period, and so it's really scarce. You'll find a 65-year-old black man attempted to do a full Ironman race, or a half Ironman race, or maybe even a sprint.
Or Olympic, the ones you don't do, I'm sure.
Skip over it like it don't exist, right? And so with my goal next year, that's like the big goal is to go in June, because Maryland has a 3-medal challenge. You go in June, you do Eagleman. In September, you do Ironman, you get a 3rd medal. And I forget it might be Krabby Challenge or something like that. Yeah, so that's my goal, and to do that at 65, and then out in Cambridge, rent a big old house and just bring the family, and we just cook out all weekend.
Have a
good time, and I just happen to have a race to do, but I pray I can train like I did in 2020. Everything will be all right.
I have confidence in you. So part of my podcast is to feature guests who've overcome obstacles to make it to their finish line. Can you tell me about an obstacle that you had to overcome, whether it be running, triathlon, or just related to life in general?
My greatest obstacle to me actually has been myself. People talk about personalities. When I was talking earlier, I was talking about, Mac Daddy. You got This Thing Can Run. You got Iron Deacon. You got what my family know me as. You got Kenny. So, you got, your friends and Mac. So you got so much stuff going on with these different personalities. And so my biggest obstacle actually was against myself. Yeah, I would win because of me, or I would be defeated because of me. It had nothing to do with no outside forces, no other people, nothing else. It was only me.
What did you do to overcome?
Early in the story, when I was talking about that prayer, that one prayer, yeah. And it wasn't like, you'll get around what I call church people. You get around church people, they talk about, praying on your knees, and the wows and the odd things, and you get to a certain point to where if you're not that person that's going to pray like they do in the King James version of the Bible, you might be a little, apprehensive or something like that when it comes to prayer. But as a 7-year-old boy, one thing I always believed that there was a God and I could talk to him. And this particular night, actually, I was driving and I had a drink and I talked to my God, which I call my prayer. And I asked him, I don't need to do this. I need help. And that was it. There was no, all these long verses and all this other stuff, but along with prayer, you have to commit, you have to do the work, pray, and then just keep on doing the same thing you done last week. You're going to stumble. A lot of people are not going to want to see you go to where you want to go through that prayer or whatnot. And a lot of people will look like they support you. They will tell you they will support you, but eventually you'll figure out that, no, they're not going to approve of the new you.
That's true.
If you see them in the supermarket, they'll say hi, they'll smile and everything else. But remember I told you about that feel? I tell everybody, I said, one thing growing up in the country is like God give us a sixth sense. We pick people sometimes. I guess city folks do it too, maybe. We pick people out sometimes just based on, people be like, man, when I get around that dude, I just don't feel right. When I get that feeling, so I just about to feel.
So, and if a present day McKinley could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
I would just tell my young self, just follow what's in your heart. That you can do, you literally can do anything you want to if you put the work in, you pray about it. I would tell myself that. But the most thing, I would just make him aware of just people. Because where I'm come from too, one thing I did get that sometimes it can be a little bad is trust. You grew up in the rural area, we trust a lot of people.
You said trust?
Yes. That's the way my trust factor works. If I meet you for the first time, I give you 100% and you subtract. So if you work your way down to 20, it wasn't my fault, it was you.
So you trust people up front until they prove that they're not trustworthy.
And my wife, which I call her the general, she hates that. Because she'd be like, you just roll with folks. And I'd be like, well, I don't care what people say about them. Sometimes people show you right then and there, the next day, whatnot. But eventually, and I call that trust factor. Sometimes I call it an investment. If I give my trust and you do something to kind of take it away, it was a nice investment. So now I know I don't have to waste my time in my life dealing with you.
True. And I think if you pour into people, you'll be blessed in the long run for putting in the effort.
I always say there's nothing wrong with going overboard. So that's one thing I was just warning my younger self, the trust factor.
So any last minute words of advice for my listeners?
For anybody that listening, I tell them, sometimes I say, if you're a person like me, but I know who those folks are. But I know most folks have, I'm talking from an athletic point or just a life in general. People have things in life they want to do. And sometimes people want to keep it a secret because, if you fail, then you fail in a little closet and nobody knew about it. And you kind of glad because people ain't on you about it. But deep down inside of you, there's something that tells you, you failed, right? You failed. So when it comes to things that you tried to do, talk them out, share them. Matter of fact, sometimes you put them out there because when you put them out there, you can't throw nothing and just try to make it stick. If you put it out there, now you got to go work for it and earn it to make it happen. And even if you have to start at the bottom, start slow, eventually you can get there. You just have to stay at it.
Mm-hmm. Consistency. Mm-hmm.
Just like when I'm driving in a storm, you probably heard the sermon 100,000 times. The general always want me to pull over, right? And I told her, I said, no. The first time I flew in an airplane, I noticed that When I was on the ground, it was raining, but above the airplane, it was sunny. Right? As a little boy, I never knew that. Once it was raining, I thought it was raining all the way from outer space. So I figured out, take your time and be in control. Cut your hazards on. Be cautious. Slow down and, watch everybody around you, in front of you. Eventually, guess what happened? The sun is out. When that cloud hitting you, just hang in there. Eventually, it'll get brighter. Eventually, your life might get turned upside down. Like when I had that event in 2009, I went from financially real good to zero. But I never really felt like I lost anything. Based on what happened, like I gained a lot because now Mac Dad is over here and something else has begun to happen in my life. And just so happened, once I start going back to church and doing what we do, and the church was like, we've been looking at you for a while, we would love to have you as a deacon here. Not because I act, not because of nothing else. It's just that I had a life-changing experience. I had all my little talk with God and everything else, If I ever get myself straight back in life, I just want to serve you and tell folks how you changed my life. Because I'm not going to be that person, like I said, those churchy people, walk around with the verses, walk around with the Bible. I'm not that type. I'm the type to tell you how God changed my life, the struggles I had and everything else. And if I can help you, I can help you through the word.
And I agree with that because more people, I say, come to church and God with love, not with condemnation.
Yeah, I mean, just like, you look at God back in the book, they said who he always was running after. He was running after good folk.
He was with the tax collectors.
He hang out with some thugs, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for real. Like sometimes they say you got to go where the people are. And
my preacher always preach, you need a friend like Peter. Peter was a thug. He had a knife and he cut off.
Peter had a knife. Every black person. Yeah, for real. Yeah, exactly. You got to meet people where they are. Even though I was like that back in the day, I'm still like that. If I meet you for the first time, I'll give you that 100%. It's almost like the first day I met you, your hair kind of got my attention. I wanted to talk to that lady. So much fun. And then when I met you, you was fun. We were special around the marathon as we would see each other, and it just became special. Then I came to Chicago and saw you on the street. I'm like, oh, there she goes. Yeah, that's what it is. Then I followed your Ironman journey, and because of you and because of another lady from North Carolina, when you all done Ironman, it's something, I'm not going to put women down, but it's something about watching you all grow and do it. It gave me so much confidence.
Okay, well, I'm glad I helped you out through my struggle.
You and Nikki, gave me a lot of confidence. Because, the men I watched, they were like, they probably played football or everything. They were just athletes. I at least on their people. That other word they say, on their people doing such and such stuff.
So where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook with my regular name, McKinley Mason. Or you can find me on Instagram, This Deacon Run.
Well, thanks again for joining me and sharing your story.
You're welcome.
That wraps up this episode of Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you already haven't, please download Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast on Apple, Spotify, or however you listen to your favorite podcast. If you have any questions, concerns, or possible show topics, please email runningischeaperthan.therapy, OLB, Omaha Love Brown. Again, that's runningischeaperthan.therapy, Omaha Love Brown @gmail.com. I also can be reached via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Handle We Life, We Love. OUI Life, OUI Love. Thank you, and please tune in again.